Good night, everyone. Sorry for being so late. Tonight, I have tonight. I thank everyone for tuning in to having a conversation with Zay. Tonight, I have the opportunity to talk to Mr. O'Brien, Dennis. He wrote a couple of books, and the title that I picked for tonight was "The Cries of Men." So, Mr. O'Brien Dennis is a Jamaican author who has written The Cries of Men, the voices of Jamaican men who have been raped and sexually abused, and understanding male sexual abuse, love on the fire, and the kind of love requires a thoughtful and respectful approach. His work devolved into sensitive topics like men's sexual abuse, love, relationships, while we were reflecting on his a comedy, excuse me, background, the African history and international relationships. So tonight, everyone, I have O'Brien Dennis.
Hey, how you doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. So what's going on with you?
I'm gonna try see if I can. I'm gonna remove the glasses because there's a glare in the with the lights. I'm gonna take the glasses off.
We live.
Okay, that's cool.
That's okay. So, Dennis, so give us a little background. Who is Dennis? Why did you write these books? If you want to share some history, I'll give you the floor too.
Okay. All right. So my name is O'Brien Dennis. I'm Jamaican by birth. I've written 4 books in total so far, and a training manual titled "Understanding Childhood Sexual Trauma." So I migrated to the US 22 years ago this month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Valentine's weekend is going to make it 22, 23 years since I've been living in the US. And
Oh, that's a good
I
time.
migrated because when I was 21 years old, I got raped.
Okay.
And I had no clue what was going to happen. I just knew staying back in Jamaica was not my best or ideal option.
Mhm.
And I can honestly, truthfully say that I'm privileged because there are so many people who have endured what I had endured, who were in my position and weren't privileged and fortunate enough to have a US visa to say that they're leaving. So I can honestly, truthfully say that I'm thankful for the level of privilege that I was brought up in, where I could afford to leave because
Mhm.
of that traumatic ordeal. So hey, I came here having no clue what was going to happen. I know it was concrete jungle. It was not my first time to New York,
Mhm.
but I knew Jamaica was not an option. And in the process of trying to navigate this big concrete jungle that we lived in,
Mhm.
I didn't even fully understand what trauma was. I knew I got hurt. I knew I was struggling a whole lot. I just didn't know how to deal with it. So,
Okay.
in a nutshell, let me just tell the story how we got to 21. So, I was sexually abused when I was 5 years old, living in the ghettos of Kingston City. My grandmother, who was very much aware that something occurred, took me and my sister to live with her in the countryside of Jamaica.
Mhm.
Sorry, my grandmother migrated to the US, and between the ages of 14 to 16, I was sexually abused by my older neighbor. I was 14 at the time, and he was 21. And we had a love hate relationship. But here, the irony to that love hate relationship,
Mhm.
uh, he always made sure that every evening after school, when I went by his home, I had to sit in his living room and I had to do my homework. Now, who knew that's what predators do?
Mhm.
So he helped me with the schoolwork, then we fucked afterwards. Didn't understand what was going on, but that was just the reality.
Right.
And I used to drink white rum and orange juice as a means of coping
Yes, we all do.
Yeah, but hey, I knew something was up. You get me?
Right.
And you're Jamaican, so I know you know the culture. So
Yes, yes.
there's nothing to say. So what I did was I would usually tell my classmates or my schoolmates that I was having sex with an older woman.
Okay.
Because I'd not been crucified, chastised, and the whole Bible that come hit me across the face if anybody knew he
Right.
was a man.
Right.
But to be honest, I didn't. But when you're 14, you have no clue what sexuality is.
No.
I admired him. I looked up to him. I respect him. I adore the hell out of this man because the Jamaican classroom setting. There were about 42, 43 of us when I was in third form,
Right.
and I was all the way down the bottom. When I mean down the bottom, I was down the bottom in the back. It's not until I've gotten here I realize how much of a struggle it is for a teacher to navigate that many kids in a class. And you
Right.
understand the Jamaican system, more than half the class pass. Here, it's not going to happen.
No.
But knowing that this man, with all the stuff that he did to me negatively, bad, I was able to move from 43, 42 at the bottom of the class, going
Right.
all the way up to 8.
Right.
It boosts my confidence. It made me realize that there's hope. I'm just not the back of the class. So even though I knew what was going on, I felt if this is all he wanted from me, it's the least I could have given to him, knowing the educational success I have.
Right.
And I'm going to skip back to living here, going to therapy, and having a conversation with my therapist. And she kept reminding me that it is okay to strike a balance with this individual,
Sorry.
with the hurt and harm, damage, and abuse he caused me, and also be mindful and remember that if he didn't take the time and care to nurture my educational needs, who I am today, I wouldn't be. I actually have a first degree in African history and a minor in international relations, and I have a master's in public administration.
Right.
So I'd never call his name. I will never ever call his name, honestly. But if it wasn't for him and what he did back then, I couldn't be here on this journey. You get me? So I'm not getting to a point where I'm giving him all these roses. I'm saying I'm going to be the adult. I'm going to be mature enough to understand the role that he played, which was positive, and the damage he caused to my life also. And I think most times as survivors and even as victims, we always just look at the negative.
Right.
There's more than just negative in certain scenarios. So that was it. Left high school at 16. Was very, very successful. I got excellent grades. And those excellent grades had everything to do with him also.
Right.
But I remember saying to him one night, I said, this is it. It's never going to happen again. And I remember he said to me, he said, you're my first. And no matter what happened, no matter where you go, I will always have you. And I remember smiling at him that night and I said, you're going to remember these words and it's going to haunt you because it will never, ever happen as long as I live. That was it. So I went to Knox. I went to boarding school, went in the countryside. And after Knox, I went to UWI, which is University of the West Indies. But hear what? I left pre-college, went into university with the trauma. When I tell you there's never a drum that beats in that first year of college that I was there. I wanted an escape. I wanted to be in a different space, to just not think about what happened.
Right.
And I remember trying to get a counselor, and it didn't work for one reason. She kept drawing a parallel between the sexual abuse and homosexuality, and then she invoked God and Christ and that Bible whole story. And when you're going to quote Leviticus to me as a victim, you're not helping my story.
No.
There's nowhere you can help my story because what you're doing, which back then I had no clue what was going on, you're further victimizing me because you don't put a label on this young teenage man that shouldn't have gotten that label in the first place. Because as I've grown and done all the research in the past 15 years, the act doesn't result to who you are.
Right.
There's no correlation between the both. And I, young, trying to explore, tried my best to reach out and see if I could find if there were other people just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, the Jamaican Observer had this thing called the alternative chat room. And hey, we knew that the alternative chat rooms are people who mess around with other
Mm-hmm.
like-minded people. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go for that reason. I went because I wanted to have that big question mark of, am I? Whatever occurred at 5, 14 to 16, did it make me something else? Something I didn't want to be, someone else I don't even know if I am.
Right.
And I remember meeting someone in a room who I was 19 at the time when we started talking.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me he was 2 years older. So 1920, he was 21.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept telling me his story. I shared my story also. But we never, even though we're communicating on a consistent basis, we never wanted to meet up face to face. You get me? It was
Yes.
more just us venting. From me, it was more body love. Giving someone else who I can identify with is giving me the support that I didn't think I could get from anybody else. So there
Mm-hmm.
was this computer lab on campus called Satamasagasa on the science section. So I would go there as often as I could to get access to a computer. And back then in Jamaica, nobody really had full access to internet and computer. So whenever I got a chance, I could have gone there. That's how
Right.
we communicate.
Right.
And it led 20, went into the age 20, then 21. In my final year, I said to him, I said, hey, I know my plans after school. I'm leaving Jamaica. This is not home. I'm leaving. I'm either heading to Europe, heading to Canada, or heading to the US. One
Mm-hmm.
of those three, but I ain't staying in Jamaica afterwards. Then we both agreed that we should eventually just meet up, at least, seeing that we're never going to see each other ever again. So I decided to meet up with them the week before my final exams of my final year at UP.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, Jamaica had frequent blackouts.
Mm-hmm.
Lights would go away when you least expect it, and
No.
half of Kingston was just dark.
Mm-hmm.
So we kept putting dates in, and it just didn't work. But that Saturday night before my finals, he reached out to me and said he has an older friend that lives in the suburbs. I forgot what the name of the place was. And seeing that there were no lights on campus, if I was open to the idea of them coming on campus, picking me up, and we just hang out. Hey, innocence all over again, having no
Mm-hmm.
what was in the dark
Right.
for me. So we went to a Asian restaurant in New Kingston, got food, then went back to the guy's place. So we're there, all three of us talking, and you remember that music thing on BT with Free? I forgot the name of it.
Free. Free.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. The girl, her, it was Free and AJ that used to host a program
Well,
on BET. I forgot what it's called. Something similar to Soul Train.
okay.
And everybody that was young during that time, it's the hit thing. And
Mm-hmm.
homeboy, his older friend had cable, huge house. And
Right.
all of a sudden, the person who I thought was a friend left, and he was in another room. And this older gentleman now was engaging me in conversation. And I think he asked the weirdest question to me. He said, your friend told me that you got a big dick. And I'm like, no. I said, we've never had those conversations.
Right.
Not that kind of a friendship. And he said, you're sure? And he said, yeah, you're from the country, so you probably should be packing. To be honest, in that moment, I knew something was just off. And then
Mm-hmm.
he said to me, he said, you know what? Let me go check up on your friend and see what is going on. And he said, hey, just make yourself welcome. The host
Right.
is here. He said his wife and his kids are away in the US, so not to worry because we're just there by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm there sitting down watching TV, eating food. And I remember 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes past, 30 minutes. And I'm like, yo, what's up? Nobody coming back? And I left going searching for them. And when I left, I found them playing with each other.
Wow.
This was my first time in my life ever seeing two men, two males, fondling each other, touching each other with
Mm-hmm.
erect penis.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I was curious, scared at the same time, I was
Mm-hmm.
also enticed and aroused.
Right.
I'm gonna own that part of the story also, because it makes no sense to tell the story and not tell the full story for what it is. And
Right.
I'm telling the story having no shame to it also, because there
No,
were
no
people,
judgment.
yeah, there's no joke because hear what? There are many aspects of the journey while I tell that part of the story. I was judged in someone saying to me, well, obviously, if you got erected, you got hard, it means that you're interested. And I remember being on one popular program, which I won't call the name, said, but if your hood get hard, I see two man out of them something there. That means you're a batty man, right?
Right.
But hey, I'm about to be 45, so that level of arrogance I will not entertain. So that's what occurred, and they stopped. I got dragged, and I pleaded, and I got raped. I was forced, and I think the only thing that saved me that wretched night was me closing my eyes and thinking about Rick's Cafe, which Rick's Cafe in the grill, that cliff with the sun.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself in that moment when all that was, it's as if in that moment I closed my eyes, shut the world out, and I just said, God, I'm just praying and begging for this ordeal to be over. And the
Mm-hmm.
only place I could see myself was at Risk Cafe. And I remember as I felt my body ripped and tear, I felt myself jumping off that cliff to an eternal abyss. And I'm just saying to myself, will I ever survive this ordeal?
Right.
Done, over. And I cried and I asked why. The response I got was because I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so ashamed that not only did shame and guilt came on me, I kept blaming myself, telling myself that I must have done something. I must have said something to have given this person this impression, this idea that this is what I wanted. And I went back in the living room and hear what? There was a cab already waiting for me on the outside. And I was given 5,000 Jamaican dollars. And back then, 5,000 Jamaican dollars was a lot of money.
A whole lot. Yes.
And I realized I was paid off for what occurred because they enjoyed it. I didn't. And apparently, the taxi driver that picked me up was very much familiar because apparently I was not the only person.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember while in a car, Muta Baruka was playing. And you know what? I'm sitting down telling this story and I feel like I'm right there. So I'm just pausing for a bit. And I remember when I got on campus, I gave the taxi driver the money. And him said to me, boss man, I want you to change. Me said, I don't want this money. Thank you so much. And I went back to my room. I took the sheets off my bed, tied a rope, knotted that rope, and I attempted to commit suicide that night. Obviously, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Never happened.
I had other plans.
I left Jamaica less than a month after that incident, not knowing exactly where my life would have been. So, hey, here in America and trying to navigate this world.
Mm-hmm.
As I stayed with one family member, the abuse came in more and more. as the idea of me being 21, going into 22, not having a girlfriend, not having a desire to want to date a woman. You know, the big question come.
Mhm.
So yeah, big man, you left big school, 'cause you know they call university big school. So you left
Right,
big school, and you know, no girl, no woman say about your man, right?
right.
And guess what? I had not gotten the opportunity to explore that side of my sexuality yet. And we all know New York City, there's more than enough avenues and
More,
places to
more.
explore that.
Right.
And you and I both know also that too often we tend to go down the wrong holes, the wrong places,
Yes.
and
Yes.
all the wrong lessons until you hurt yourself in the process. And I self-medicated through sex for a very, very, very long time.
I did too. No, I did too. But this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm a little older than you. I'm 56. The era I came from, I was molested by church people.
Hmm.
And back then, I was threatened, if you tell your mother and parents, they'll kill him.
Oops.
So you're
Yep.
telling this to a 5, 6 year old, of course. So you go with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, that's why I did that show. What are the signs of molestation? Because people figure we get molested. They don't handle the area where we got molested. Now that we're grown and we're dating men and women or whatever, you're going to hell. But you wasn't going to hell when you was being taken advantage of.
Okay.
They don't concentrate on that. That's why I said I'm in a place in my life. Everyone don't have. I'm 55, 56. I mean, I don't have nobody have no reason to tell me how to live because those are the tender years I'm trying to heal from now.
Mm-hmm. And it
And
takes, let me tell you something, it takes it takes a while. It wasn't my self-medication just wasn't sex. I remember always having a chilled bottle of either white rum or Appleton in the freezer. By the time I got to 25, my liver was completely destroyed. And I was at the hospital. As a matter of fact, I got admitted to the hospital in Mount Vernon for the liver issue because I was vomiting constantly. I
mhm,
I was ripped up on drip for about a week, and they gave me the diagnosis that my liver, and I'm like, I'm too young. There's 24 that messed up liver. Are you crazy?
you're drinking every day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Hey, you don't remember, that a lot of people don't realize what trauma does, and especially the choice of drugs that people use.
Mhm.
It's like someone who uses crack and cocaine because it may not be the ideal choice of drug we're going to judge. But what happened to the guy or the woman that drinks a bottle every single night? Still drugs, right?
Right, right,
You become a drug addict, you abuse drug, and when you abuse alcohol, you become alcoholic. I
right.
was a functional alcoholic for a very, very long time.
Mhm.
So I took a Jamaican doctor. The fourth doctor I went to was a Jamaican guy, Dr. Pete. I'll never ever forget this man. Dr. Pete looked at me and said, Boss man, as a Jamaican, to another Jamaican, you need help. And you're not leaving here until we have the honest conversation about the
Mhm.
why.
Right.
And hey, ignorant Jamaican, why? Most of the drink, I'm young and I just want to have fun and enjoy myself. He's like, mm-mm-mm-mm. He said, you're 24 and your liver is complete. He said, your liver not just messed up, your liver is completely destroyed because liquor.
Right.
So that means you've been a heavy, heavy drinker. And you know what? I think in that moment, for the first time in my life, I saw not just a male, I saw a father figure, a man who was not going to judge me for the past or whatever ish I was going through, but someone who wanted to get a greater, deeper, better understanding of how I got to here.
Right, right.
And he, in that moment, was willing to play father, brother, uncle, elder to say, hey,
Mhm.
you're a young man, and I know obviously you've gone through a whole lot. You probably have never ever said a word, I got you. But if you
Mm-hmm.
continue on this trend, you can lose your life.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he said, before you start telling the story, here what I need you to do. I need you first to have a purpose for living. Identify one thing or one person that is going to allow you in this current moment to want to live, to have that great desire. My niece,
Right.
my eldest sister, their sister, had given birth, and I so wanted to meet my niece. And I told him, he said, then start living for her. Whatever change you're making, no longer for you, just for her. And I told the story. He said, I'm a medical practitioner. What you just told me, I cannot help you with. And it was at that point, yeah, someone just said 106 and Park.
Yes.
Roshan, thank you. I trust me. All the age kicking me. I told her for
Yes.
that. Dr. Pete said
That's
to
the
me,
guy that had the locks and the girl.
yes, the short, little cute
Yes.
girl, and the
I
guy
told
with the
you.
locks that everybody admired and loved and all that. So Dr. Pete said to me, I can't help you, Dennis, but I'm going to try and see if I can get you someone. And initially, I didn't get the therapist I had for a very, very long time. I kept going to different places.
Mm-hmm.
It never worked. I got this African American lady named Edwina Keys. Never forget her also. And as I grew up, got older, and understand therapy, I realized the importance of cultural competence, because as Black men, as West Indian men, and especially coming from Jamaica, the
Mm-hmm.
subject topic that we're talking about, not everybody would understand how to deal with us. So we had 5 white women who, trust me, they were just worse. And I'm not being racist when I'm making that statement. They were just, I went into therapy with white woman asking me, so do you know Bob Marley? I said, Bob Marley died before I was born. Do you smoke weed? Never touched it. And the question is, but you're Jamaican and you've never smoked weed before? And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, who the fuck this bitch talking to? Like, well, because I'm Jamaican, I've never touched it.
Right.
And
Right.
I guess their idea of people born in the Caribbean is we're sitting on the sand with this huge blue Caribbean sea before us. There's this
Mango.
coconut. This is nothing. There's a coconut tree arch just like this
Yeah.
with leaves and a coconut, and we're sipping with coconut and white rum. And that's it. That's
Right.
all we fucking do. We don't work. Don't do
No.
shit.
No.
And
Because the island free.
I was like, no, I can't. And I was lucky enough that I found this African American woman, and I will never forget as I walked into her office. Let me tell you, she was the most pleasing woman I could have ever found to work with me. And the first thing she said to me, she says, hey, my name is Edwina Keys, and I read your file. I realized that you're from Jamaica. My husband is Jamaican, and
Right.
we visit Jamaica quite often. She said, I every year my husband and I always go to Ochos Rios. You know, she pronouncing it incorrect, but me don't know say she has said Ocho Rios.
Right.
And we go to Dunn's River Falls and we go down to Negril. And I said, if you know Negril, I don't live too far from them, about 20 minutes from there. And I felt so much at home. Bear in mind though, I only had an 8-week session with this woman.
Right.
So I didn't even know how to start the conversation. And I remember every time I went to therapy for the first 3 weeks, I had a book. And she asked me why I walk with the book. And I said, it's my journal. I said, I don't know how to express myself. I don't know how to say certain things about what happened. So I write it down. And she said to me, I think the best way for me to communicate is you write down your thoughts and you come back every week and you read it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as we went into 5 weeks, she said to me, I think you have enough material to write a book. I said, a book?
A book.
Me? Furthermore, let me just give another disclaimer. I'm dyslexic.
Right.
So me writing a book was like, a book? And she said, yeah. And you know what? The idea of the book came about going to therapy, and she gave me the courage to not just deal with my own inner demons of what I was going through, but
Mhm.
helping me to get the point for me to share the story with other friends and hear the story now. I found out that within my circle of friends, I
Mhm.
was not the only one. I was not the only Jamaican young black boy that got molested by a neighbor or by a family member. There were other black Caribbean boys from different Caribbean islands who were also, all of us were struggling.
So hold on,
So
where was your parents in between all this?
my mom had gone back to Jamaica, I think, at that point. So for most of the time between pre-university, university, my mom resided in the US. My dad was always here. Met my dad at 19 years old. So there was never a male figure around. And I'm gonna be honest about that. I have uncles.
Right.
I, for the most part, have disowned my uncles because I'm a firm believer that as a male, you have a responsibility to take on that baton of teaching your nephew, even with just that little boy in the community. You hold on to
Yes.
them, especially when there's no father figure there. You're given a right as a man to do certain
Mhm.
things. And
Mhm.
when you see all that is going on, that there's no father figure there, and you drop the ball, you ain't man enough to be in my life. So fuck my uncles. I'm sorry. I don't fuck with none of them. It's just what it is. And
Right.
I'm unapologetic about that part. I've written a will, and they can't even come to my funeral if I die tomorrow. That is
Right.
how strong I am about that point. Because to be a man is not just his masculine face, it's not having
Right.
a dick, it's not having muscles. It is much more than that. You get me?
Right.
So, yeah, what? I went to a whole therapy thing, found out that most of my friends and I were all going through the same thing. And you know what? Let me tell you something. Our community can be so cruel. I remember I used to spend so many days in Prospect Park. I, hey, let me not open that can of worms because we're not gonna have a
No, no,
conversation.
look, no, listen.
No, we're
I,
not judging. No, this is not about. I'm just saying I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because there's a whole rabbit hole there if I talk about Prospect Park. By
yes, but all the parks are like that.
well,
They're
Prospect Park.
different.
Come on, man. You know Prospect Park is different than the others. So here, what happened? Don't laugh. Don't laugh. I remember meeting so many people like me and you and telling them about the story. Me want to write a book, and I can't forget so many of them look at me, and I'm gonna use the N word just in the context of what it is. And I said, nigga,
Mhm.
who the fuck you fooling? You ain't gonna fucking write no book. Every faggot always act as if they're gonna be something big, they're gonna do something else. Zay, let me tell you something. 2 years ago, 2 years, if not two, it was 2024, 23. Yeah, after COVID, when we had our first West Indian Day parade, everybody came on because we haven't had it in a while. You see, God sometimes works in mysterious ways,
Yes, he does. They shut it down.
Yep, you see, most of these people, most of these men who told me when I was about 24 that there's no way human possible I could have made that book, I could have gotten to here, I could have told a story. Literally, it's like God were having them come out of the woodwork, and I'm like, God, what the fuck are you doing today? And you know what? With so much pride and joy within myself, I gloated.
Right.
And so many of them had this huge ass belly before them, and Marky, for the most part, we're all the same age. And I'm like, look at y'all motherfuckers. Look at you. Miserable. Doing the same shit that you were doing in your motherfucking 20s. And y'all fuckers judged the fuck out of me, made me look like I was less than a human being because I didn't get shit. But look at y'all. And I'm the first to say, hey, I'm good. And I will
Mhm.
tell all of them about the degree. And I say, hey, oh, so you live all the way. I said, and I don't live upstate. I live in Mount Vernon. I live in Westchester County. And yes, I own the house. I own the house. And I was the first person to pull my phone out to show them that French PSI created. But I said, mm-hmm. And you know what? I wasn't gloating because I was trying to show shade on anybody. I needed them to understand that the help and support and encouragement that I was desiring, was looking for from them, they literally shut me the fuck down. And I
Mhm.
needed them to understand, look at where I was then, look at where you were then, and look at who you are now, and look at who I am. God. And I let it go. No fuss, no fight. I let it go just like that because God always say, "What is meant for you can't be on for you," and I let it be.
Right.
So that's the first book. So here what? When I wrote the first book, I had this idea in my head to write another story. And that is, do I even, here am I looking at my bookcase? This is Love on the Wire, Understanding Male Sexual Abuse, The Cries of Men. Yep, Love on the Wire. All right. So I had written Love on the Wire before I wrote The Cries of Men. And I had it put one side. So The Cries of Men is my personal story, my journal entry, and a collection of stories of other men from Jamaica who had similar stories just like mine. And I was coming to terms with my sexuality then. And I realized that a lot of West Indians, a lot of Caribbean people don't even understand the struggle that we're going through. And back then, this big thing, HIV was the bug.
Right.
And so many of my
Sorry.
friends were getting the bug. So many were going to all the places. And you know what? I'm gonna recall this thing. There so many times immigrants move to this great country. I'm gonna use New York because that is my home base. And we go to Chelsea. You know what Chelsea is all about, right? We go to Chelsea, we go down to Hell's Kitchen, and we go all the way down to Midtown. And because we're black and we see these white men who not realizing that they're seeing us as exotic creatures
Mm-hmm.
who they just want to fuck, either to get fucked by or to fuck with.
Right.
And crack and coke and cocaine got introduced to me. I can say, to be honest, I've never ever in my adult life
Tried that.
never touched it. But I can say there are a few white men who snort coke off my chest, off my nipples, off my dick.
Mm-hmm.
And I never realized that that was an actual form of abuse, also. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
But I never judged. I went through homelessness. I struggled a whole lot. And it was while in therapy, I got, after Edwina, I got another young white lady, and I had her for 10 years, Judy. And there's a point in my life where I was so ashamed of. I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to talk about it. And I wanted that to be in that box locked away until I die.
Right.
And I remember having a conversation in therapy with Judy about the pain, my deepest secret, my deepest pain that I never ever want anybody to know. And she said, "You can't do that. You just can't do that." And I told her the story. And I remember she saying to me, she said, "As a young man, look at it. As a young man, you were struggling. You had no family members. You had no support. You needed to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So what you did was you went to A and you went to B and you went to C, and whatever you did, it was survival mechanism. Stop judging yourself for surviving. You were in survival mode and you did the best you could to survive, to eat, to get to where you were
Right.
without the help that you should have gotten. Because there's a reason why we have families, you know.
Mm-hmm.
As you get older, you realize that the blood really isn't family. Is a stranger that you meet, that you build friendship with over the years. You realize those are your hardcore, die-hard family members. But hey,
But your friends but your friends come your I find in my world, my inner circle are my best friends. I love my family.
yeah,
And because I've struggled with it for all these years, I don't talk to my mother.
and that's
Because
okay.
because I was called a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's the company you keep that made you gay. No, I was molested.
Hold on. I'm gonna stop you about one thing right there, and I think me and you had this conversation the weekend. There's no correlation between you and I being molested at 5 and you being a homosexual right now. There's none.
I
Hear
know.
what you did. As you were trying to cope with your trauma, as a teenager, as a young adult, you engage in sex with men. That's it.
And women.
And women, same here. But hear what? You've gotten to a point now in your adult life. You're 56 years old. This is who you are. There's no cause effect to who you are right now. The abuse, the physical trauma you went through didn't define who you are right now as a man. Hear what? You know, most teenage boys struggle for one reason when they go through sexual abuse. I never wanted him to touch my dick. I never wanted him to suck my penis. I never wanted to suck his. I didn't want to get fucked. I didn't want to fuck. But here what happened. One little member in the middle right here, below our belly button, went all the way up. And that's what we call confusion.
Right.
Not realizing it really isn't confusion, because it is a normal reaction when you're touched in a sexual, sensual manner that your body is going to react. But when you're that young and that naive and that vulnerable and don't understand what sexuality is, what sexual touch is, and you're saying to yourself, but Uncle Tom touched me and I never asked for that touch. But it
was inappropriate.
Yeah. But you know it's an inappropriate touch. You know nobody, man or woman, shouldn't touch you there. Then you ask yourself, but how is it? I don't want to be touched, but this is moving. It went. Why? And hear what? Here when you get fucked the most. Uncle Tom or even Mary, Aunt Mary, Uncle Tom, because women do the same thing to young boys.
Yes.
Then guess what? When that big eruption happened and you ejaculate, you're like, what the fuck? Because guess what? What have we been taught? The only time we ejaculate is when we enjoy sex. And that is a lie.
From the pit.
One of the reasons why I do the work I do is to help to unfuck people's mental mindsets and to untrain them with this idea that when we're growing up, religion teaches us that we only do missionary style sex, right? And we only have sex for procreation, and we only have sex, and men and women, we do the heterosexual sex though, men and women only have sex for, not for the woman to enjoy it, but just for the man to, not NUT, ejaculate, come. That's the only purpose. He don't give a shit if she enjoy that dick inside her, because at the end of the day, as long as he nut, he good. And poor mama laying down on her back and like, nigga, shit, you went for 5 minutes and I still haven't gotten a nut. What's up? But for him, he's the man, because guess what? He got his nut, so he good. But there's a whole nother conversation for the heterosexual group that I ain't get myself involved in, because guess what? At 45, I realize sex is not about just me, it's about me and my partner, and it's an equal thing that we're playing, and both of us should enjoy whatever occurred. So let me go back to the story. Let me not digress.
But you know something, O'Brien? I'm at the place now where I've been in therapy for years. I didn't tell nobody on purpose. And the last 2 therapists that I had, I always interviewed my therapist.
That's always a good thing.
Huh?
No, that's always a good thing to do. You interview a therapist like you're looking for a partner.
Yeah, I was in. But see, it was connected. I believe it was all connected. I went to go see my doctor just to ask her something, and this third new sister named Liza Plenty was in there, and she says, "Oh, I'm gonna be your counselor." I said, "Really?" So she gave me a card. I called her, interviewed her that day, and talked to her about everything I needed to know. For the 9 months, she took me to another level in my life. And the question that we had, the conversation you and I had, she took me to another level where I had to sit down and talk to my parents. Daddy, apologized and cried, and he thought I was getting molested in Jamaica, but no, it happened in Brooklyn. And then mommy called me a liar. So I moved on. I said, at 55, I don't need your approval anymore. You didn't protect me then. I have to protect me now. So toxic people, negative energy, I move you out of my life. Like even like before we came on, I was checking. I just came from a funeral tonight. This morning, And I'm getting all this negative conversation from these mega people. And I'm like, this is my page. You don't have to come here and comment on any of my comments. Go somewhere else. Keep your negative talk. And I was just saying, why do people feel that if I post something on your page, why do I feel that I have to be negative on something that you have lived for someone else to come out and say something disgusting? You speaking from your heart. I mean, you should listen. Usually in my shows, I don't have nobody cursing, but I want you to be authentic and be yourself.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No. Listen.
It's me. I need filters most times.
But because I believe sometimes people don't curse. That's you. But some people curse just to say what the hurt and the struggle they went through. You're addressing how you really feel. That's why I'm not saying nothing.
I can't. Let me tell you something, man. I cannot be anything other from who I am. I'm going to use this word. I'm unapologetic of anything someone thinks about me.
Right.
Because I should not be here.
Right.
And when you get to the point in your life where so many shit has happened and you're living by God's grace, you're living by God's will, and you realize that God has sent you here for a purpose, and you understand what, and hear what, it's not just that God sent you here with a purpose, you understand the purpose that God has sent you here for and to do, and you realize that the dream that you're dreaming right now in this current moment isn't the dream that I've dreamt for myself. I'm living the dream that God has dreamt for me, because the dream he dreamt for me is bigger than me.
Right.
So I give zero fuck. You know what I ask for? Respect.
What? That's it.
You need to like me. I don't give a fuck if you like me. I don't give a fuck if you like what I wear, how I present myself, the nose ring guy here. Well, I took the earrings out because I'd give zero fuck. But guess what? The moment you step and you disrespect me, hear what? Disrespect breeds disrespect. So when I come the fuck at you, however you came to me, shut the fuck up. We good. Don't do it. Don't do it. I ain't play that game. And you see, adults now, I'm too old for this petty shit. So hey, guess what? Where I work, if a client come and say nigga, I say nigga, who the fuck you talking to? Okay. Oh, but I said, hold up. Didn't you just come into my office and call me nigga a while ago? And you grown to, right? So whatever you say to me, I'm gonna bring it back to you, motherfucker. I said, motherfucker, who you talking to though? You need my help or you don't need my help? Which is it?
Right.
I said, then motherfucker, if you keep calling me motherfucker, you need to leave my office. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Right.
And that's it, because guess what? Where you want to be, I'm there already. I say, furthermore, I work in the housing system. I work in the shelter. Man, you homeless. I'm going to a home. So you gonna come fuck with me? Back the fuck up. Leave. So I don't want to take up too much. I need to finish the store piece.
Go on. Tell me how you run. Hold on, let me ask you a question. But hold on, let me ask you a question before you go any further. When I first met you, what was the first 2 books you bought? You wrote.
Let me tell you something, man. Y'all need to stop listening, because old age alone keep letting me.
When I first met you,
I did the Cries of Men already, and I did, yeah. I did the Cries of Men, did Love on the Wire, and when you met me, I was doing my thesis, so that was when I started writing Understanding Male Sex Abuse. Yes, okay. That's how we
only have 2 of your books.
So, and then during COVID, or somewhere about 2 years ago, I wrote My Kind of Love. Yeah, forgive me. Hey, I'm sorry. I don't remember what the heck I did. But let me quickly go back to that therapy conversation. Okay. So what Judy said to me was, at some point in time, I'm going to have to own the story for what it is. And she said, you did what you could with the limited knowledge you have just for survival, and just let it go.
Right.
And I remember, so there were a few people in my inner circle who knew I had sex for money. Around the parks, I was homeless. I used to sleep on the number 2 train from 241st to the junction in Flatbush. I used to do my thing in Midtown Manhattan. I used to be what you call rent-a-boy. There's a website years ago called Rent-a-Boy. I used to be on that. But hey, guess what? It wasn't pleasure and it wasn't desire. I needed money. It was either I was going to steal I'm a fuck. And let me tell you something, man. I have a good friend of mine. Oh, Jesus. I didn't even call him best friend. I call him a conscience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but friend, we have friends, best friends. He ain't no friend. He ain't no best friend. He my conscience, honestly. And I remember one day we're talking, and he said, "You know what? You keep wasting your time fucking for free every fucking day. Why don't you just collect $1?" And I'm like, okay, because whichever way I go, I'm still gonna fuck, right?
Right.
So, because my choice of drug was sex. So, whichever way I go, if I'm just gonna keep fucking for free, and here my struggling, why not just collect $1 at the end? And you
Right.
know, many times people hear my views about prostitution or people having sex for money, or where we in our community we call it pay for pay.
Right.
And people hear my views, oftentimes they judge. Let me tell you something. I will say to every single young boy, young man who decide that that's the route that they're going to take, have some value. Have some value in what you're doing. It is
Right.
survival, but at
Mm-hmm.
least have some value in yourself for who you are as an individual. So I'm not judging the trade. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just simple saying if you're going to suck a dick, collect some good coins to suck a dick, especially if you're going to swallow. And not
Right.
only that, if you're going to bend over or lay on your back and have some random stranger who look crony, who look disgusting, who on a normal day you'll puke at looking, you're going to let them touch you into your body. Boy, collect a good check. I'm sorry. Just don't just get fucked just because. Because
Mm-hmm.
we ain't do that shit for $20, $50. Because back in them days, I ain't gonna call my number, but I will guarantee you ain't nobody could give me 20, 25, 50, 60, 80, 100. Because Dennis don't play that game. I'm sorry. But here how life turned out though.
Right.
I'm gonna jump from there to the current. During COVID, I was fortunate enough to get a job offer to work for a shelter system in Midtown Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned it down 8 times.
Why?
To be honest, I didn't want to go back to work in social service again. I was just done. Cause social services has this messiness that comes with it that I just didn't want to deal with at all.
Okay.
And hey, I think for the most part, I'd already established myself. There were things I needed to learn, but I told myself go back in the social service was just not it. I'd rather do construction, which I did. I did construct. I stopped working for 3 long years, and for a full year I did construction. But I told myself, even as degreed as I was,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to deal with that kind of a messiness. So hey, a very nice woman that used to be on the board with me offered me a job. Said no 8 times. I eventually said, out of courtesy and respect, I'm gonna go in. Got the job. Negotiate a good pay, by the way. I'm gonna stress that part because I know my value. And I ended up bought a car because I didn't want to do the whole train thing. So I bought a car, and there were 2 friends of mine that asked me for a ride. So my office was in downtown Wall Street, and then because we're in the peak of COVID, you could get good parking downtown because a lot of people were in the city.
Right.
I said, cool, no problem. And I drove up, but there were issues going on the FDR and the West Side Highway. And this is how God works, in very mysterious ways. I said, you know what? I'm going to come into Midtown. And Midtown took me all the way up to 48th, right by Radio City Music Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark, I tell you, I got a job working for a shelter system.
Wow.
And as I turned the car to the left, away from music, from Rockefeller Music Hall, there was the Canadian Bank
Mm-hmm.
with a huge waterfall. That's where I used to sleep.
Wow.
And honestly,
Some people don't think this is real when let's go here for 1 second. People think sometimes when a person is raped, they don't go through the suicidal, you don't go through you become you do come promiscuous. Because that's what I did. I was very promiscuous. Women, men, I jumped from head to toe. I couldn't tell you which one I wanted. Real. Even now, I see beautiful women, but I don't want you. I see beautiful, handsome hen. I right now I'm not sure, but right now I just want someone that sees me
For who you are. That's it.
for who I am. I don't care if it's a man or woman. I just want someone to see me, because what I see right now, what's going on, they jumped in this one, they jump into this way, and they're not bringing anything to the table. See, our bringing up from Jamaica, we have certain
Some standards.
standards, what we look for. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. You just have to know who you are. So here, what? I pulled over the car and I took out my phone and I went on Instagram Live. My friends pulled out us and I say, "What, man? Yo, you good? What are we coming out?" And they were listening to me. And they said, when we came back in the car, the two of them said, "Where just did the water go? What's up? You're lying, right?" And I said, "I have no need to lie." And I started crying and I said, sometimes things happen. Sometimes we meet people and we don't realize that God has a reason and a purpose when he brings people into our lives. That lady that when I met you that night, I met you
with Valerie, right?
Valerie. Do you know? I'm a pause. Hey, I'm finish up this and come back to you with Valerie. Okay. So we were driving and I told him the story. And they said, all these years I've known you, I didn't know that you were ever homeless. And I said no 8 times. And no, I just realized my purpose for doing what I'm about to do, which is work with the homeless population, because God knew I understood their story. And sometimes in order to help someone come out of their own abyss, you yourself as a helper, as a worker, have to have an idea of what's going on.
Yes.
And I thank God every day, even though I said no 8 times, to say thank him for allowing me to see the light and the whole reason why he wanted me to do that journey. So, with Valerie, August is going to make it 15 years.
Since you met her?
No, 15 years since I met her. And I met you 15 years. The night I met you was the night I launched
that book.
Right behind here. Take this bad boy down. This was a night I launched this book. This is my thesis. Understanding male sex abuse and its ripple effect on society. This is the thesis, but the actual book, because you can't replicate or duplicate your thesis.
No.
So it's understanding male sex abuse and the ripple effect. So who knew all these years when you met me on that one night that would have still been in contact? And me and Valerie have touched base on several other occasions after that one night. I, single Black boy from Jamaica who came here struggling, created the first, only male sexual abuse organization in the Northeast, in these United States.
Because they're not thinking about that.
With men that look like us. I remember in our 5th year when I went downstairs and I got 2 letters from the White House. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do? I mean, my eyes are wide, like it was open right now. I'm like, what the fuck?
You remember this one?
The White House? And trust me, for days I had it in the room because I'm like, I'm nervous as fuck. And I took the courage to open it. And let me tell you something. I have it framed in my bedroom. It was a letter from our first and only Black president saying, thank you, O'Brien, for the work that you're doing. And I'm like, God couldn't be no more gooder. God couldn't be no more good, honestly. But hey, 15 years this August, and I'm going to talk to you off the air about all that we're doing this year. So continue the story. So I got the job downtown. Last year, the program got prematurely shut down. We had to relocate. To shut the program down, I had to relocate. And my company had to find me a place because obviously I didn't quit, I didn't resign. So when I shut the program down, they try your best to find you somewhere else. And I did an interview for a actual shelter, one of the largest in New York City. And let me tell you something, I was bitter. I didn't want to go work for these guys no more. I didn't want to do shit for them because I was pissed that my program got shut down. But who knew? Who knew God had another lesson in store for me? So you remember me telling you that I used to sleep on the number 2 train from 241st to the junction. I used to sleep in Prospect Park. No, not Prospect Park, in Central Park. I'm currently, and just listen, hear me clearly. I'm currently a clinical coordinator and administrator for a 200-bed men facility in New York City on 110th Street. Do you know where my office look out to?
The park.
Central Park, where I used to sleep and where I used to park. Not only that, the train I take to work is across the street. You know what number train that is?
2 train.
2 train. I struggled. And I struggled because I remember one night being on a train, and a lot of people don't understand the struggles that people are homeless or what they go through sleeping on a train late night. And I remember it was about after 4 on the train, and I woke up to a very rugged guy masturbating over me.
Wow.
And I know this was not the life that was meant for me, honestly. But here, look at me though. I'm on the 5th fucking floor of a building, an administrator of a shelter system overlooking Central Park.
Wow.
God, trust me. You know, at a conversation at work with my colleagues yesterday morning, because I'm dealing with bullies. I'm dealing with people who don't value, who don't appreciate me. And I had to remind them, when God has created a path for someone, there may be delays, but there is nothing any other human being on this planet Earth can do to destroy the plan that God has already created. Hey, your plan has been created for you. You know, God knows when you're going to go down. He knows when I'm about to go down. And hear what? I walked into that meeting yesterday morning with so much anger and so much rage. And you know what I said to myself in there?
What?
I said, if God allowed me to get to here with all the shit I had to go through, and I'm here doing his work, why the fuck am I going to let y'all destroy me? So you know what? I'm going to keep letting you, as in them, be themselves. Because at the end of the day, I know who I am. And because I know who I am, it's just what it is. So that's a story regarding the 2 books that deal with male sexual trauma. Now, my 2 books, which is part 1, part 2, Love on the Wire, and My Kind of Love, they're not my story. It is the story that I envisioned and dreamed for myself.
Okay.
In book 1, My Kind of Love, it's Akeem who fell in love with this older guy. And there's a story when I was younger about 2 guys in the Bronx that shot each other because the older one found out that he had HIV, thought that the young one had given to him. So it was in that era with that HIV epidemic, with a lot of young Caribbean men coming in and us not knowing how to navigate all that was going on. And the shock and awe that came when so many of my friends got it, they didn't even know what to do, how to deal with it. Right. And you know what? I wanted to tell a story about black gay men, black men having HIV and the life that they were living. Not the sad story, not the depressing story, but I'm not sure if you remember this really, really popular, famous black author named Ellen Harris, who died very, very early.
Yes.
So I met Ellen.
I love all his books.
I don't even have them in the living room. I have all of his books in my bedroom because those for me are my prized possession.
Right.
I remember Ellen, I met him on most of his stores in New York. And I remember telling him about me wanting to write a book and what I'm going to do. And she said, write the story from here, from your heart, and breathe life into your characters. Breathe enough life in them where other people can easily relate to who you're
Yes.
writing about. And my characters were all educated young black men who were successful, who didn't have a degree, had a trade, had a skill, but we were happy, we were vibrant, because
Mhm.
those are the people I grew up with in my early 20s. We all wanted love. And it's not just self love. We wanted to be loved by someone. We want to love somebody. And I told the story from a Jamaican gay perspective and bring it to North America. And honestly, I've had so many people over the years say to me, boy, I don't know, man, but I feel like you wrote my story without even knowing me.
Right.
But I think it's important as a West Indian, and I'm not just repping Jamaica, but as a West Indian to tell our story. It is important for someone to be the elder to tell the story of who we are. Even though I wrote the book in a fictional format, there are aspects of the book which is as real could be. And I think probably that's the reason why a lot of people can relate to it, because it's not just pure fiction. And as a writer, a lot of people don't realize that writers, musicians, we mimic. Our art is an actual mimic of reality. It's what we see on the outside. That's what we're
Mhm.
going to portray.
Right.
So as book one kept going, a lot of people kept saying, "Hey,
I
Akeem,
can relate. I can relate.
well, not just relate. You kill a man. Did he die? What's going on? What are you going to do?" And I'm like, shit, how do I continue the story? And you know what? I I remember having a party at the house, and this young lady I used to work with, her name is Casnet. It was a weekend with lights out. And let me tell you some Casnet is as straight as a heterosexual.
Mm.
She said, Dennis, let me tell you something. I read a book. I got turned on. And it's a gay book. But I can feel the sex. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay. And she said, come here. You wrote your story. And I said, fuck you. I didn't write my story. It's poor fiction. I said, no, 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 no. She said, come here. She said, you wrote, and she literally had the book. And she said, you wrote this section that said that your yellow kitchen. And she used the, and she said, nigga, your kitchen is yellow. And I'm like, okay, coincidence. She said, you were writing a section where you said that you were looking through your big open window in your kitchen. You got two big windows in your kitchen. And what did you write in the book? That you were overlooking your garden. She said, what you have outside looking at right now, a garden. And I'm like, shit. What I did with my fiction without even knowing is called the art of manifestation.
Right.
The story I wrote about Akeem and the life that Akeem was living was a life I envisioned for myself.
Hmm.
No, I heard that noise. Time is up. Am I talking too much?
No, no, that's these are these people hitting me up because I'm
Okay, okay. I thought the time was up.
no.
And I finally realized that not only did I tell a story, did I write something fictional, I wrote a story of the success that I wanted for myself. I bought an old house in Westchester County, which is over. That boy was 109 years old. And I must say this not to brag, but hoping to inspire another young black man, another sister who understand what struggles look like. And I bought a house for
Mhm.
under 250. My house is valued more than $1 million now.
That's a blessing.
And whatever I do, I hope, even if the way in which I'm relaying the story, some people may find it to be grotesque, offensive, because I may use certain words, certain
That's what
language, certain jargon.
Mhm.
I can only be authentic for myself. And
Mhm.
my aim, my purpose is to inspire someone to live the best version of their life. the version that someone has concocted for them or the version that someone dreamt for them, but their version of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be happy is multifaceted.
Right.
Your happiness for you is a different version of happiness for me. You know what happiness is for me? Being in the ocean, being by a river. I'm about to become 45, and I told God from last year, I said,
A
you know,
cruise.
no, no, on a cruise. I'm afraid of big ships. Sorry.
You know, my brother said the same thing. I want to go on one.
I'm scared of them big ships. So last year I kept saying to myself, what am I going to do for my 45th birthday? So a group of my friends we're going away. But this year it's like just God sent that I'm actually going to live that dream, and I'm going to spend my 45th birthday on a small island. I can't say 'cause I don't know nobody know my business, but it I don't think people realize how important dreaming is, and having aspirations for more than what you have right now, because there's endless possibility to this life. Hear what? I had a stroke in my 30s. I am a survivor of prostate cancer 2 years
Right.
ago. But no,
Thank God.
2023. So hear what? Every time I get up out of my bed, the first thing I say is thank you. Thank you, not just for another day, but thank you for giving me life, for me to live God's purpose.
Right.
As I said before, the dream I'm living isn't my dream anymore. This is God's dream that I'm living. And whatever He's doing or whatever will He has for me is being manifested through me. So I don't get flustered when people come and do certain shit aside from disrespecting me. You get me?
Right.
So, and because I know my purpose, people say I walk and I'm cocky and overly confident. No, 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 no.
But hold on, Jamaicans, we were born bougie.
We were born with that chip right here, right? So
Yes.
we give a fuck. Yeah. Even when we're poor and we live in the ghetto and we have nothing, we're
No,
gonna still step out because
yes.
we're hey, guess what? Remember, you see poverty? When you're in poverty, most time you don't even realize you're in poverty,
No.
People don't
But see,
even
but see, Jamaican, even though we might be poor, yet you have all the mangoes and every food you can eat. Might
hey,
not have the money, but you have the food.
people don't know the struggle I went through to get the house. I have this old house that is no longer this old house to what I created with it. So I don't eat sardine no more. I don't eat tin mackerel no more. I
Mhm.
don't eat pink salmon no more because I have consumed enough of it. I
Right.
enjoy corned beef with corn and white rice. There were
Mhm.
months I could not eat chicken or any kind of meat because I was too poor to afford it. But hear
Right.
what? Every Thanksgiving or every year, I throw a party. And for those who are less fortunate or just need a space, just need love, who just need to be welcome somewhere, I bring them into my home.
Mhm.
Uh, I have one rule to entertain. I don't know if you watch this British comedy name, the book. It's the bouquet.
The
And
bucket.
the white lady said, the bouquet's resident. She's actually bucket, Buckett, but she's really bucket, but she calls herself bouquet. And
Mhm.
Miss Bouquet always have soirees. So my friends always get annoyed with me because I don't do paper cups and I don't do red cups.
Oh, so you're like me.
You get fine china, I'm sorry.
Glass and dishes in on the table,
Hey,
and
guess what?
knife and fork.
I have a dishwasher in the kitchen. It will get washed. Don't worry. We're good. We're good. And over the years, I've had people spoke negatively of me because of how I entertain. And I remember one particular guy cursed me. Oh, he cursed me like filth. He said, "You always come and act as though you're Oprah and you're Oprah things in your backyard and you're fine china and you're trying to act." And I said, "But I'm not acting though.
Mm-mm.
I'm not. I'm doing what I can afford." I said, "Have I ever begged you for a donation to do this shit? So why are
Mm-mm.
you making me feel less than because I don't want to do the red cup bullshit that y'all do?" And that people. Furthermore, have you ever gone to someone's house, someone's barbecue, someone's house for food, and they give it a little paper plate and the food is dripping on the paper plate?
Look worse.
And the red cup of liquor that has every other liquor, but one liquor or two in it, and get you sick before the night done. You're fucked up because when you put white and dark liquor together, that is a wrong combination. So by the time you take 2 sips, your head is spinning. Guess what? You're coming to my house and I'm giving you a meal. But what I've done for myself now, I'm very selective in who comes over.
Can't invite everybody.
Because there were moments where I would open up my home to everybody, not realizing that home is home and not everyone should be invited to your home.
Right.
I have one rule like Maya Angelou had that I learned from Maya Angelou, where she says that when someone comes into your home, they must respect your house rules. And if someone were to ever come into your home and disrespect you, and remember the story she was giving that she was hosting a dinner party once, and a friend of hers invited someone else, and the person the friend invited was talking negatively about somebody.
Right.
And she called the person and said, "Hey, you, come here. Who did you come with?" And they pointed out the person, and she said, "You and my guests must leave because that behavior isn't welcome in my home."
You're supposed to ask if you can bring someone.
No, it's not even just asking. Even if you ask, when you bring someone into your home, the person should respect your home, though. It's not a gossip mongering situation. It's you coming to enjoy and network with other people. So no, it's either 8 to 12 the max that I invite at a time. And I host at least 2 people for the summer. So you go and get the royal treatment from me. But I'm okay. I post less on social media, as you probably realize.
No, I don't post that. I only post when I'm doing shows. That's it. My personal life these days is like I moved. I don't know if I told you I moved to Harlem.
Yeah, I remember you told me you moved to Harlem from Brooklyn.
I've been here 5 months. I love the 17th would be 6 months. I love my apartment. So being that with Jamaican, we love cook. We bring it to 10 in this apartment. I can't do more than 8 and 10. It's a nice vibe in here. I did something for my birthday. I had 20 something people. I was so happy when the majority of them left. So you know what my friends do? This girl brought me this. I don't know. She brought me this Jamaican ice cream cake with grape nut raisin, rum and raisin.
Yeah.
From Cold Stones. But she showed out in my house. I cut her off and got rid of her. But the food, some of my unsaved friends that don't like the Christians, they act so bougie. My girlfriend said, "Okay, we're gonna take out the cake. These Christians gonna go home." And they went home after the cake. After me feed them and me give them the cake, because I made baby back ribs, curry shrimp, fried fish, and baby back ribs, and rice and peas and stuff. I was tired because I went out Friday, Melba's, and then I had dinner. I said never again. But no, I understand what you're saying. That's what I want to do. I want to bring the clueless friends, women and friends, because that's the other thing. But people think when you're gay, you only have gay friends. I mainly have straight friends. Might be one or two of us in the house.
Hey, I'm over. I have not been to a club or bar in the city. I'm over us. And whomever wants to judge me for saying I'm over us, yep, keeping up. Someone just said keeping up parents. See, me, I'm an old age, but I know Hyacinth though. I know it's Hyacinth bucket. So.
But some O'Brien. You know what I'm learning in my healing? It's like when I did that show, I wanted you to watch it because it seemed like that show opened a different can of worms for 56 for me. I've been laughing more. I spend time with certain quality of people. And I'm living for me. I'm not listening to the nonsense. You wasn't there when I was going through what I'm going. Leave me alone.
And hear what? You realize one thing? I told a story tonight, and you realize I didn't go into any graphic, gruesome story of what they did, the blood, and all of that stuff. I think there's a lot of people who have this idea and this notion that they want to overly sexualize over story, over abuse.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I've learned so far is it's my story to tell, my story. And I don't need to get to a point where I'm going to tell the gruesome, grotesque aspect of the story in order for you to believe me. It is my story to tell. I have full authority to tell my version of my story, my
Right.
life. And if
Right.
you choose to believe me, that's okay. And if you choose to not believe me and my story, I also give zero fuck. Because
Right.
I go to bed every night and my mortgage is paid and I'll be on a plane before the month end, and you don't contribute to my life and to my happiness. So thank you for listening. Thank you for not believing, but I'm okay. And
But let
that's
me
it.
but let me
Getting to
ask
that
you
point.
but let me ask you a question. In your
Yeah.
therapy, because I know there were certain parts of my therapy I had to forgive. Did they tell you, did the therapist
Oh,
tell you to
brother,
let go and forgive
brother.
them?
I couldn't have gotten here without forgiveness. The lessons I've learned about forgiveness isn't for them.
No, it's for you
It's
and
for
for
me.
me. Yeah.
Getting to a point in my life where I fully understand and realize that at this point in my life, there is nothing that I can do to change the past. It is what it is. Hey, guess what? Too often as survivors, and I'm gonna put victim because sometimes people are constantly in that victim mode. I am not, I'm a survivor,
Hmm.
where we feel the need, where we need to get that self-satisfaction because we need that person to say, I'm sorry. No, you don't.
Mm-mm.
You need to look at yourself in that mirror and say, I was a child. And an adult who is expected to protect me took advantage of me. And just like your mother told you that you're a liar and you choose to walk away, that's, my dear brother, is okay. Because guess what? While your mother never asked that person to come into your home and molested you, you were under your mother's care. So it means that at some point in time, the level of support, the security that your mom should have provided for you, so someone did have to come into your house and fuck with you, she has to take some accountability. She has to
Right.
take some responsibility for it. And
Right.
even if she chooses not to, that's okay.
But my upbringing is, the Jamaican where everything is churchy, 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 but you're not dealing with the issues. It's like even like the mentalness in the. This is why I stopped going to church. It's so much mental crazy in the church, but nobody's trying to go see the therapist.
Because
You
guess
don't
what?
want to take no
Because
medication,
guess what?
but
A
you're
pastor
willing.
needs his. Hey, why would a pastor send someone in his congregation to go to therapy and he needs that check at the end of the week?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's how churches used to be. The hospitals, not the hospital no more. It's a
No,
bag.
but guess what? They
It's
were
something.
never. All they did was put a. But let me tell you something. What the Bible say? God help those who help themselves, right? So He created people to be in certain positions, certain professions, who are trained and skilled. Let me tell you something. Man. I'm not judging someone who gonna pray before. I mean, probably kept my eyes wide open. But okay, so we're gonna bring God. We're gonna bring that. So are we bringing just God, or are we gonna bring the elders, and we're gonna bring the ancestors in this meeting? Because I need some time when we're trying to, like right now. Hey,
Mhm.
me talking. I'm not just talking for me. I'm talking for all those who don't have a voice. I'm talking for my elders, the 10,000 times 10 of my ancestors who
Mhm.
went through the shit they went through slavery, who they didn't have a voice because of what slavery brought them through. Everybody who went through Jim Crow, everybody who went through segregation, for me to get here, for me to be bold and brave enough to tell the story that they wanted to tell and couldn't. Hey, it's bigger than me, man. So
It's
guess what?
true.
When you realize that I go to church for two purposes: funerals and wedding. That's it. I know how to pray. And I'm a child of God. So even when someone condemns me because of who I am, because I'm like, hey, guess what?
Here's my Bible. I know
Here,
it's been
but
used.
you see how life stay? The
Yes.
same people in the church condemning us, Listen
But
to
there's other. Well, hold on. There's other sins in the Bible. Let them talk
they
about.
talk about, but not only that. Hey,
But molestation or homosexual is the word.
the,
You sleeping with that person, doing drugs and all that,
I
killing
was
people.
even saying that. I was saying how many of the sisters, the pastors fucking in the church, and everybody knows what pastors is doing. And it's only because of social media. Why is it we're seeing a lot? I don't have the time for that level of hypocrisy.
No, it's
So
a
guess
headache. It's a
if
headache for me.
if you're gonna live in your sin and you're gonna condemn me for my sin, I have a pastor uncle. He's not dead,
That's the
deceased.
uncle.
And I remember he said something to me about my homosexuality and God condemning me. I remember when that same uncle was young, going to theology school. He used to bring young girls over the house. I was a child. I was not even fully 10 yet. And I say, hear some sounds in the bathroom, and he and those young girls used to lock up in there.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. I remember asking my uncle, bold, brave enough young boy, asking my uncle what's going on. And my uncle said that he's praying for those young girls. And it was the Holy Spirit that was coming out while they were crying, not knowing that my uncle that was going to theology school was giving them some dick up in that bathroom. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he was trying to condemn me about the sins of God and Babylon and Sodom and Gomorrah? And I said to him, I said, Uncle, let me say this to you. I said, I'm going to pray to God in heavens that if I die and when I die and I go to hell, I'm going to pray to God I don't see your wretched ass up in hell with me. Because here what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that fucking fork, because you know to put that picture with the devil with the spike and the fork. I'm going to take that devil fork. I'm going to fuck your ass up with it. Remember that one? Because guess what? You're holy and thou I shouldn't be right here with me. But guess what? You know what? We only know one sin, and that is a homosexual sin. But I'm good. So when we're fucking off the church sisters in the church, I mark you. We've heard and we know of too many stories of pastors and elders in the church messing with our boys. But hey, we know the story now. And I've heard so many elders, so many mothers in the church say, the boy went over, the girl went over and made a pass at Pastor or Elder John and forced them.
But how them and they bigger than the children?
No.
But see, a lot of that tells me that they had to go experiencing that. Those parents went through it. For them to yell at a child and say, "Why are you flirting with this one?" And you know he's the grown up, been taking advantage of the child. It's a whole. It's like when I
That's
did
the
my
part
story.
I never understand, where rather than just owning, and you know it comes back to that whole idea of culture and cultural value system, and how important it is for us to reshape our cultural ideal and value system, because there's no way an elder can have the nerve and the gall and the tenacity to even want to blame a child for being sexually abused by an adult. There's no way possible that you're victimizing that child knowing that an adult, and I've always said when people made the argument, I said, even if the child went over and touched that adult inappropriately, that adult has a responsibility. Do you know that poverty, is a poverty issue, that when kids live in a one bedroom setting, Shantytown, Jamaica, and picking the on floor asleep, mommy and daddy are fuck on the bed, just hearing the sound, hearing that sexual sound of your parents having sex is a form of sexual abuse, because it
Yeah,
is traumatizing for kids
yeah,
to hear their parents having sex at a young. Hey, we understand how we came, but we don't need to hear it. And even if when your teenage cousins put the porn on the television and you're 5, 6, 7, or 8, indirectly, that within itself is also another form of sexual abuse.
mm-hmm.
But society gives us this singular definition of what sexual abuse is and what rape is. So if someone doesn't penetrate, and bear in mind in the Jamaican cultural theory, Rape is only vaginal rape. Rape has nothing to do with oral. It has nothing to do with anal. So if the penis never go there, so you never get raped.
You know,
I
get ready.
remember I
Right.
went to police at 21. I went to police in Jamaica. Never forget this police officer name. His name is Inspector Barrett. I reported a crime to Inspector Barrett, and he said to me, "Him say, boss man, never get raped and you get boogered." And I'm like, "No, sir, I never got boogered." And I spilled out the definition for him of what boogery is. Him say, "Boss man, they may
Right.
fuck one other man, fuck you know, a booger, a go on." And I said, "No." And I repeated to him what happened to me at the house. Him said, "But you can't get raped, you can't have a vagina."
What
And I'm like,
what ignorance that.
yeah, and I said, "But I got penetrated though." And he said, "This is what triggered me for not wanting to say in Jamaica anymore." He said to me, he said, "I'm just gonna just give you one reality. If I take the story and write it up, I'm gonna have to arrest you. So you're
You're
gonna
gonna
have
have to
to."
arrest you.
Yes.
That's some ignorance, man.
And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't stay. I just in no way heaven could stay. And as I said to you, I tell the story as often as I get a chance to tell the story because I know that there's so many like me who
Mhm.
didn't get the privilege and the opportunity to escape what I had to escape. You get me?
Yeah.
So to live through sexual trauma, to live through sexual abuse, having it as your best kept secret and not saying anything to anyone for years, it robs you of your authentic self. You get me?
Yes.
Because the things we do over a period of time to numb that pain, to self medicate, it robs us, honestly. If you look at pictures of me when I was in my 20s, even early 30s, I look not like this. I look old
You're not.
because,
Oh no.
no, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you look at the younger pictures,
Right.
I didn't realize that stress and your inability to deal with trauma can manifest itself in who you are, how you present yourself. No, I'm full of life. I'm 45, and most people are like, "You 45?"
How was 45 treating you?
I'm about to be 45 on March 1st, by the way. I'm pushing it.
Ooh,
March
you
1st.
Pisces.
Yeah,
Pisces.
March 1st. But you know what? Hey, I struggle with muscle spasm right now. So there are moments where my back just kick and I can't walk, I can't move. I struggle with that. I dealt with the cancer as I told you.
You're cancer free.
Yeah, I am cancer
Me
free.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Thank God.
But hear what? I'm full of life. I'm full. When the pain kicks in, I don't get angry. I don't get upset. I have two beautiful, sexy cane. I'm.
Sexy.
I told myself my next trip. Nope. Yep. Because guess what? You can't be 40 in your 40s and walking with the old people cane. You get
No,
me?
no, you should be with the straw.
No. So hey, I know on my next trip to Jamaica, I'm getting one of them wood carve out
Yes,
sugar daddy looking cane.
yes,
You get me?
yes.
Because I want when I step over, my back kills me and I can't walk. I'm walking with style, but I gotta because as my doctor always say, stop fight it. You need a
Right,
cane for support. Hey, sometimes I have to take a shot. I wear a patch, whatever I have to do, but I have to work though. I still have to
right.
do live my daily life. So if it means I'm gonna get a cane to just give me a well, not a pimp, just to get me a little bit more dapper. Hey, why not? It's just what it is. But guess what? I've survived this long, so I'm not in victim mode. I'm not in survival mode anymore. I'm living.
You reading it too?
Who this? Who this?
Hold on,
You
but
know
no,
what?
but it come with the territory because when I cook, I've been here. Okay, when I moved to Harlem in September, my niece said to me, "Uncle, we all cook because of my dad." She said, "Uncle, cook." And me and my mom and my sister, my niece and nephew came, and some of my closest friends came. And that day I made some Jamaican food. I thought I was losing my mind. When I'm cooking like I'm opening my salon, not my salon, my
You're
restaurant.
saying, ain't no wrong. That's how you should do it.
Xavier's is coming up here. Xavier's. That's going to be
Yeah,
a name.
there's nothing. Guess what?
But hold on, when you cook, people don't understand how Jamaicans were taught. We were taught how to prep the food.
Mm-hmm.
If I drink with a glass of wine, you're drinking a glass of wine. The plate should be the same what I'm eating out, you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
That's being classy. And that's not being bougie. That's being classy.
Guess what? It's like back in Jim Crow and back in segregation, where black folks mimic what white folks were doing, but we put our own twist to it.
Mm-hmm.
It is, for me, food is not just me cooking something. I have a very, very good friend of mine who I'm not sure if he's on, but he gets annoyed with me whenever I cook, because I spend a time and a half with presentation. Because for me, I want, when you see me bring that plate out to you, the presentation alone, one, it captivates you. It makes you have this moment where, like, shit, this man took forever, even though he always said, but I'm fighting about the presentation, Dennis, but half the time I'm here, I'm hungry.
Right.
And you're spending all that time just making sure that your presentation is on par. But for me, though, it is more than just the food. I put time, effort, love, and joy in cooking. But I want, when I present the meal to you, it is presented in a way where you're going to enjoy it. And we're going to have good conversation over that meal. Most time, if I drink 2 glasses of wine, I kick over in that backyard because I can't do it. No, and I'm not joking.
Because you
don't give me no liquor. Don't ever, when I keep parties, don't ever come and go king over in the backyard. But it gives me so much.
You're a lightweight. You're a lightweight.
I don't drink. No. Let me tell you something, man. You see, from 24,
you can't drink like that anymore.
No, if I smell white rum, it brings me to a place. So I've gone to a point where I know my triggers. And because I know my triggers, there's just certain things I'm not going to do. When I was 5 and I got molested in a shower, and the young man was using carbolic soap, right?
Yes.
So there's certain things that just can't be around me because it triggers me. It brings me back to a deep place that I don't want to ever go to. So I live the life I'm living as authentic as I can be because I fully understand what my triggers are. I no longer use sex as a drug. I don't need to. I don't have a need to do it. I know where to
use it as love.
Yeah, and hey, guess what? There may be moments where I feel like I want to be that person, and I'm happy that for who I am right now, I can decide that, hey, next weekend, next month, I'm not gonna do whatever I want to do around town, but I'm gonna jet off and head somewhere in Europe and have that fun and come back home.
Right, but you're entitled. Nobody's business.
Because guess what? At the end of the day, I define my own happiness. And I don't hate people can judge. It's okay. It's okay to judge. And you see, half the time those who are judging,
they don't know who them is.
No, not even just that. Miserable. You hear that?
Miserable.
Honestly.
Miserable.
Bitter, honestly. And I'm like, I can't afford to allow your bitterness destroy my happiness. And hey, I remember before I said that, years ago, I gone to there's a pub 2 blocks from Brooklyn Museum. Yeah, man. Downtown Brooklyn, man. Right by it's not too far from the Brooklyn Children Museum.
Wait, the one on Eastern Parkway in Washington?
That's the one where the carnival thing ends.
Yes.
Back in the days when I used to do my trade thing, that's what I call it, trade.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that I used to have as a regular, he saw me at that bar. Mark you, I was about to complete my master's degree. And this young man came in. Mark, he's a little bit older than me. He said, "Oh my God, O'Brien, it's been a while. I haven't seen you." my school colleagues are like, "What the fuck? What's going on?
Who's this?"
And he's there talking very, very loudly. And I'm saying, "Hey, Forgive me, I almost called his name a while ago. Shit.
Break
Let
it,
me not do
look,
that.
break it down a notch. I would have
Yeah,
said,
yeah, I ain't call nobody name. And I said, "Oh, how you doing, man?" And he said, "Yo, you still loving?" He called Westchester West Bubblefuck, and I'm like,
nah,
"Yes, live in West
that's too
Bubblefuck,
far.
man."
Too
He said,
far.
"Live
That's like,
all the way up." I said, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "You know, I bought a house." And he said, "Yo, you know, you were my best." I'm like, this man.
anyway, moving along. Commercial
And
break.
hey, can you say? Let me tell you something, man. He never stopped until he told my story to my schoolmates. And that was when I had my first conversation with Judy about that part. And the thing about life is we have to go in head on. Are we going to be scared? Yes, we're going to be scared. Is
Mhm.
it okay to be scared? No, it's not. But guess what? In order for us to get to that journey over that hurdle, you got to tell the story for what it is. And you're not only just giving your version of the story, you're telling the truth. Because the only thing that is going to set you free is the truth.
Yes.
You know, when people remind me of my past and what I did for money, my only clap back to them is I got a beautiful house, 3-story, 8 bedroom,
Wow.
4 bathrooms. Here, my account, you don't even know what I have in my house. Can you imagine? 8 bedroom, 4 bathroom.
But you know something, but when you look back where you came from and where you
Mhm.
are now, that's where the blessing is.
Yeah, and you know that I always remind them of? I got a passport, and let me tell you something. I was in Guyana last year, heading to Trinidad, and the customer officer said to me when he looked in the book, he said, "Mr. Tyson, I literally have no place, no space to make a stamp." I said, "Stamp it," or he said, "I can't stamp over another stamp." Just like that. I said, "Well, I'm sorry." He said, "You will travel." And I said, "Yes, I am." And I remind people that the stamps in those passports are mine. And I
Hmm.
tell them that while you're here trying to judge me for surviving the best way how I knew when I was young, which is the fuck for money, and you're gonna vilify me, crucify me, let me feel like less than a human being. Hear what? Here you are still fucking for nothing with nothing to show for all the fucks that you're still doing. But hear what? At
Right.
least I got something to show for all the fucks that I was doing. So probably what you need to do is take 2 pages out of my book and start fucking for free and see
Right.
what happens. And that's it. And I keep it moving. Because guess what? No matter what happened, people will talk. No,
Chatterbox.
I could do the greatest thing on the planet Earth. Somebody's gonna have something bad to say about you. Let it go.
Yeah,
Let
always.
it go.
Always.
Let it. So, hey, you know it's almost 2 hours, right?
Oh, I know, because you chatting to do me a favor. What is the future? What tell me about the future with plans you have now, and then I'll have you reflect, and then we'll close.
All right,
Because I'm
so
letting you just have the flow. You was late. That's why I'm letting
yeah,
you.
hey, come on, man. I had to go to the gym, man. You know, New York, the trains were messed up. So
You
my
know,
bad.
but that's nothing.
So what is in store for me is I'm revamping the organization, and we are trying to get an actual physical location. I have no made this work my life's work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stepping out in an act of faith, having no clue exactly what my financial stability will look like when I step out on faith in doing this work and embarking on this next journey. But God got me here, He will get me through the next. And
Right.
what we're trying to do is we're trying to get into other spaces where we're providing services for men just like me and you who need help. There's so many men who come into the shelter system
Mm-hmm.
who are just like us,
Right.
but because the trauma, they just can't navigate so much things in their life, so they become street homeless. And I want to get to a point where I can give back to them. It is not just me just giving as a human being, but me realizing that God has manifested Himself within me. And don't ask me what's gonna happen in the next 10 years or 5 years from now, but I'm stepping out in faith.
Right.
And the website from our organization is OBD www.obdi.org. It's called, you can Google it, as a Brian Dennis initiative. Myself and my very dear friend, we have been doing this work and we have been shelling the money out of our own personal pockets. And if you hear the story tonight, you feel inspired by my story, you've read the book, and you've known the work I've been doing, go to the website, click on that donation button, and make a donation. It means the world, not just to me, because hey, what? I have a part-time job. And for the most part, I literally give that part-time money to my organization because it takes a lot of money to do what I do. And every day I say I'm thankful and I'm blessed and I'm financially stable. But every time what I go, I will, what happen? So I can't do it on my own. So this is my personal pledge to someone said to put it here. Can I type in there? www.obdi.org. I just sent it. Yep, that's it. Obedient. Yep. And I'm getting a dynamic group of people to join my board. And I cannot be more inspired right now, because just like how I network with you, I know at some point in time I'm going to network back with Valerie, but all the people that I met along this journey to get to here, I'm bringing them in one safe space to help me to get ODI to that next level. So that's what I'm doing. And 2 years ago, I was fearful. I was scared. I don't have that fear or scare anymore, because when you go through what I've gone through with that cancer and you survive, you say, you know what? God isn't ready for me yet. He ain't ready for me to come down to glory side yet. There's much more work he has here for me to do on this earth. So rather me getting up every day and complain about the pain I feel in my back sometime and the joint pain I have, I realize that I have health, I have strength, and I have a big mouth. Everybody,
we knew that already. Hold on. So O'Brien, give me a closing statement to any survivors that have listened. Any encouragement that you would say to anyone that has been through what you and I have been through, and then we can close the show. Any encouragement, prayer, whatever you want to do.
2.
Okay.
Forgiveness is for you at all costs. Don't hold it. Don't hold no grudges against anyone that did you harm, because it is going to destroy you. Say a humble prayer, and I know it's hurtful, I know it's painful, but forgive yourself for one, believing that you, as that child, as that prepubescent teenager or even adult, allowed the abuse that happened. Forgive yourself. And 2, let them be.
Can I ask you one question before we close?
Yeah.
Your therapist never told you to write the little boy?
Oh, fuck yes. No. Hear what she did though.
Oh God.
Did not just write the little boy. She said, go back home. So here what, my grandmother died. Shit, I don't remember how many years ago. But the
shortest version of Brian.
The adopted grandmother died, and I was so scared because remember, I left 15 years after I came here to go back home. And she, let me tell you something. I loved, oh God, I don't even know how much I love Judy. She gave me her personal number. She said, in order for you to get through this journey, you have to go back through every single place and relive that moment and forgive yourself in every setting. And when I tell you, I went to Jamaica for 5 days for the funeral, and I took the time, I went to my neighbor's home, which was not too far from my house. I said a prayer and I cried. And let me not say cry, bawled. Then I went to Augustone And my mom, good friend, was still living in Augustown, and I tell her the story, and she's the Lord Jesus Christ. You know, same live in England, and I said, I said, let it go. I'm not interested in that part of the narrative. I just want to come here. I just want to be in this space. I want to be in this tenement setting, just to remind myself that I survived what he did to me.
Right.
Then I went down to New Kingston, where I went and bought that food right at that police station. I'm getting emotional, but I allowed my friend to stop the car, and I said, I need to do this on my own. And I did. And I remember coming back to work a week after, and my VP in the management meeting said to me, Mr. Tyson, something about you has changed. And I said to her, a heavy burden has been laid to rest. And I have now gotten the opportunity to start living. Because that was the first start of you see, that forgiveness and then going back to the places. That was when, I don't know who had watched the Iyanla Vanzant's show when I was on, where she put the blocks and she tied it around my hand. And she said, as a 5-year-old boy, you had this brick and it was holding you down. You have to learn to let it go.
Yes.
So honestly, I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not. Some of us may need professional help to get to where both of us are. Just like Oprah Winfrey, who she tells you she's never ever gone to professional therapy, but she used her show as an outlet. Exactly what you're doing right now, what I'm doing with my organization. They are a multifaceted layers of ways to get through trauma. There's not just one ways. You have to get to a point where you find your niche and what makes you happy, and what gets to that point where you can just let it go. I'm a gardener. If you follow me, you know, during the summer, backyard, I mean my flowers.
Right.
And for me, flowers is significant because I watch the buds as they grow and it flowers. And even as it flowers and the flower is dying, there's beauty within that. And we're here in the city, and it's winter and there's snow on the outside. In another couple of weeks, spring is going to come, and the buds are going to come up and they're going to bloom. It reminds me every time of God's precious gift to us. And whether or not we choose to go to church, whether or not we choose to pray, whether or not we choose to have a defined religion or a defined God, just remember that there is a supernatural being responsible for all of this. And wherever you may call him, understand that there is something bigger than who we are. And we have to give praise to that and just be humble. Humble yourself. Hey, I know who I am, so I don't need to broadcast to nobody what I have, my level of accomplishment. But I love me unconditionally. And I have a phenomenal partner. Someone who I never, ever on a God's earth expected I was going to meet, to come into my life, to transform my life, to let me stop doing some wild fucking shit. And I am just
maturity. But that's good.
Yeah.
Nobody has the right to say who you should be with. You wasn't there when I was dealing with.
Hey, yes, you know what I have not done?
What?
I have not posted one picture.
You don't need to.
Said to me the other day, so that's your best kept secret. I said, you could say whatever the fuck you want to say, but guess what? Because you know what's going to happen? Let me tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to post one picture, one singular picture. And all of these haters, all of these MF, find his inbox and they're going to tell them another version of me. So here what? I don't need none of that.
It came from your mouth.
Yeah, I don't need none of that myself. Guess what? I'm good. We went to Europe the other day and people see me taking all these. Hey, I don't need to live that part of my life in the open. There's a part of me that is sacred, that I need to be at peace, and that's him. Are we good? If you see me in the city and you see me in person, wave, say hi, don't take no picture.
Sign me book. Look, sign me book.
Not even just sign, buy a book.
Yes. No,
But
no, I have to buy the next 2 books the next time you see you have to sign my book.
hey, I'm working hard. Just buy the darn stuff and call me, and we meet up and I sign it. Come on, man.
Okay,
You're the least. Tell someone that live overseas who ain't nowhere close to me to buy the book and they want to get it signed. Come on, you're right here. Come on, man.
I'm telling Dr. Smalls we need to work on my book because she's been interviewing me since my early 20s. I said, come on,
and trust me, you should tell the story. Tell the story.
My authentic
your
self.
story to tell, because for every one of us who keep telling a story, it helps inspire someone else to come outside of that barless person that they're living in. That's it.
So Brian, that's the only place they can find you. It's the one that you gave me.
The OBDI.
Let's leave it let's leave it right there. Let's leave it right there. No, I have it.
I ain't trying to have nobody come up in that Instagram inbox. So if you're on the Instagram, you know who I am. Just let it go. Leave it just like that. I ain't trying to broadcast. I ain't trying to sell it. OBDI.org. That's me.
Where can they get your books at? That's where they can get your books too.
As a matter of fact, so I shut down the book website. They can go to Amazon. All 4 books are on Amazon, and Google has it. Apple has it. All platforms that people go to get their books. It's in Barnes and Nobles. Anywhere you go that you want to get a book.
Your books are live. It's a testimony of what you've been through and other things too. But people, I would say this: when you buy his book, be non-judgmental. Be open-minded to grow, to hear where he's coming from. That's the only way you get the story. And he's sharing stories about love, being raped, whatever. You have to be open-minded for you to heal. So I'm happy that the Lord has really been dealing with me to do these talk shows about molestation. People don't want to have this. We're so churchy to run to church. Nobody wants to have the conversation. We have to open the conversation, and the next person I bring on, nobody needs to be judgmental. Be open-minded and hear where the person's coming from. But O'Brien, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you, bro. We got to do a show again because you're long-winded like me.
Hey.
But anyway,
don't give me a mic, Don't give me a mic. I'm going to run my mouth, honestly.
You don't see mine? So everyone, Brian, don't hang up. Don't hang up. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to Having a Conversation with Zay. I'm just so grateful to have my buddy. He can be authentic just like me, and we share our journey, our testimony, and where God has us. Wherever we're going, it's none of nobody's business but us and God. So y'all have a pleasant and wonderful night. All right, everybody. Next week, I'm having my bestie, one of my besties. We're talking about dating life after marriage. Next Wednesday night.
Okay.
Dating life after marriage. She found love. Moving to New York. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but she moved from another state, was married, drama, all that stuff, came to New York and found love. So it's possible to find love. So next Wednesday at 8:00, I'll have Miss Janiqua Ephraim. That's going to be I can't wait for that one. Brian, you have to watch that one.
No, I will.
Have a good night. Until next week, we'll talk soon. Be blessed. And
thank you so much, man.
For having a conversation with Zay.
All right. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Wait.